Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now for today's video I'd like to talk about video games anyway. Specifically I'm going back into the nostalgia era of the 1990s whereby a lot of the classics we know and love came from there. Specifically however I thought I would put a bit of a twist on it today and talk about unpopular opinions. Now as we know, one of the most nostalgic and best games that we've ever played, let's be honest, it is Goldeneye 64 on the Nintendo 64. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering what kind of unpopular opinion I could be coming up with, something like that. However, I have come up with one, and the one that I've come up with today, and I'd love to see whether it generates a massive debate on it, is why I think that this game, Perfect Dark 64, is actually the king of the Nintendo 64 rather than Goldeneye itself. I've been thinking about this for a while now, and to be fair, probably over 20 years, but I thought it's just something that I would like to discuss even further. So please let me know what you guys think in the comments, and we can obviously have a bigger debate about it. I think prior to what I believe, to talk about what I believe as to why Perfect Dark is and was always better than Goldeneye, I think it's important to kind of understand the background behind Goldeneye and what actually made it the legendary game that it is still today. First of all, I think it's important to know that it was released in 1996, 97, 2 years after the original film that it was actually based on. The interesting thing about this is that it could be easy to assume that this film could have flopped, or sorry, the game could have flopped, because if it's 2 years after the movie, a lot of interest could have gone down or people wouldn't have been bothered. But that actually wasn't the case, surprisingly so. A lot of people, I mean, there's so many different kinds of factors to what made this game legendary, and since it was based off the movie, I think the first point to mention was that it definitely captured the essence of the movie. You could play the game, like before you even get into multiplayer, you could play the game and think, I remember that, I remember that, I remember that, I remember that person, I remember the lines perfectly. Obviously it's a game, the movie is only about 2 hours long, so on the game they'd obviously expand certain areas which were in the movie, but in order for it to make it a bigger and longer game, they'd have to obviously extend it and so on and so on, which is what they did, and I feel they did that tremendously well. I mean, even though the game is 96 whatever, does anyone realize just how hard that game actually was? Like, even to a degree, certain levels, even, I don't even, dare I say, even on the easiest levels, there are 1 or 2 levels which probably had its difficulty spikes, but then when you get into like normal and, the hardest one, I think it's 007 mode, I think, or 00 Agent, sorry, the game was a challenge. It was a challenge. I mean, I do still remember to this day completing the entire game, including the 2 bonus levels, which, by the way, Egyptian and Aztec were based off, I think, Moonraker and Man with a Golden Gun. Those 2 extra levels were based on other Goldeneye James Bond movies. So, just in case you didn't know or what those levels were, they were based on other James Bond movies. But yeah, like I was saying, the game was bloody difficult. I did manage to complete it, but guess what happened? One day, after completing the final 2 levels on the hardest levels, I came back home to see my files deleted. How that happened, I do not know. Till this day, I'm still pissed, because after playing it again, doing some of those levels again was just a fucking myth, and I just couldn't be bothered. Although I am still looking for another Nintendo 64, so... But yeah, back onto the main point as to why I think what made this game specifically legendary. What other points have I got here? One of them would definitely be the multiplayer. Now, this was something that definitely revolutionized the FPS genre in general, because as you remember, we also had sorry, my back's itching me just there. We had games like Doom, Duke Nukem, Quake. You had all your other older games on different consoles with like the kind of pixelation that you're looking at now. You're trying to compare that to then, you think it's a joke. So, but for that time, the leap graphically from Goldeneye between Duke Nukem and Quake and all that, it's too vast to quantify. Visually, the game did look a spectacle. Especially the fact that it was from a first-person viewer's perspective. So because of that, something that we hadn't seen before, for that time, it was massive. I mean, let's not forget, how many of you even, I'm sure a lot of you remember going over to your friend's house, people coming over to yours to play the multiplayer, and you'd play that shit for hours on end. And hours on end. It was just legendary. You couldn't get enough of it. Goldeneye was definitely the benchmark now for a lot of first-person shooters, and I do believe you can still see influence of Goldeneye in a lot of games today. Now, one of the things that I do believe made not just Goldeneye but multiplayer legendary in itself was, for me anyway, it's the music. And I feel this is something that you don't really get in many games these days. Yes, you have music on the loading screens and all that, but back in the day, I feel not only did the music heighten the tension, especially multiplayer, heighten the tension, so when it gets like the last 10 seconds, everyone's desperate to kind of get the final kill. It would just give you that atmospheric noise. It would just make you kind of immersed in the environment that you're actually in. And I feel that's something that you don't get with many games today. And this is one thing that I think that game did particularly well. Definitely for. Another point which, yeah, definitely linked into multiplayer, but again, it was also included in the single player, was the golden gun. Something else that I got written down there. Sorry, guys. It's the golden gun. How many of you did not use or did use that golden gun? I mean, just take a look at it now. You should be seeing it on your screen. Yeah. Do you see what I'm talking about? Are you guys seeing exactly what I'm talking about? This golden gun, one shot kill. Everyone was dying to get that gun on multiplayer, and it was almost, you were pissed. You were pissed if you didn't have it or you kept on getting killed. I mean, I'm not too sure what happened to you guys, but I'm sure it could be, I don't know whether you can classify it as one of the things that, you know, break friendships, or everyone starts getting angry at somebody else because they would always get the golden gun. Either way, it was something that we would all fight over, you know. And it was definitely a worthy addition, and till this day, it's still probably one of the most legendary weapons in any game ever, regardless of the time period it came out of. So that's definitely something. Another interesting something I'd written down at the last minute, I do feel needs to be talked about just because it's funny, is the slappers. And what I mean by slappers is the basically karate chops, which led to some epic death scenes. The animation was too funny. I mean, just have a look at this. Yeah, do you see? I mean, you look at just look how funny it is to see the computer, to see how people get killed by the slappers. It's just something I had to throw in there because it's one of those things where if you got killed like that, you're a pagan. You know what I mean? If someone killed you like you're a pagan, you're a waste man, you're a waste girl. I mean, it's funny, but you couldn't allow yourself to get killed like that. So it's just something I thought I had to throw in there anyway. But for me, it's stuff like this that kind of made Goldeneye the game it was. I mean, personally, I do hope they do remake it properly sometime in the future, probably later come out. I know they have done a couple of remakes, but I don't think it's as big as it should be, but I'd love for them to do it again. But this is just my take on, first of all, GoldenEye as to some of the features. I'm pretty sure there's more. Please let me know if there's any more things that I've left out as to what made the game legendary. Now, moving on to Perfect Dark. This is the thing that I really had to get into, because I do need to explain why I feel this game was better than GoldenEye and what made it a hell of a game in its own right. Now, first of all, the background for this was that Perfect Dark was initially made, well, they started development in 1997 and was released in 2001. What makes this game unique is that it's considered to be a spiritual successor to GoldenEye itself. The reason is that just before or during production, I know when Rare, I believe, went bust, half of the team had left to go to, I forgot the name of the studio. I forgot the name of the studio I forgot the name of the studio, but they are left rare. Half the team were left to kind of develop a new game. Now, this new game, the makers of this game wanted to create something new, similar to Goldeneye but different. They wanted a female protagonist. So, like I mentioned before, you had Pierce, you had James Bond, you had Doom, you had Duke Nukem, you had all males. So we were moving into they wanted to start moving to an era where you'd have more female protagonists. Similar, I mean, it's around the same time Tomb Raider, Lara Croft come out anyway. What I do know about this is that it was influenced by Blade Runner, for example. It was influenced by Ghost in the Shell. Well, her clothes, I know, definitely were influenced by Ghost in the Shell. Joanna Dark, who is the main protagonist, was influenced by Joan of Arc anyway, during the French Revolution, I think it was. And yeah, they just wanted to create something completely new. Oh, and it was influenced by something like, I think it's the X-Files, because the game focused on the disagreement, or similar to Alien vs Predator. Basically, you're looking at two races going at it. Humanity is involved, are the third party in this conflict. So they're here to having to stop it while dealing with their own corporate stuff that's going on Earth anyway. That's basically the short version of the backgrounds. Yeah, so this is basically it. I think it's important for me, I've got it written here actually, I can't remember everything, but yeah, the reason why I do believe that Perfect Dark, and I think people need to listen to this, is that why it was better than Goldeneye is I feel it's improved on what Goldeneye had already done and took it to a new level in all aspects of the game. Now, like I said, it's a spiritual success. It is a spiritual successor. It has taken what they've done and basically multiplied it. And I'm looking at all different factions. One of the most important things for me was, and I'm gonna go straight into it and talk about the multiplayer for this game, because, like you say, what do you reason? You basically come for the single player, but you stay for the multiplayer, similar to what people do in COD. So even as part of the multiplayer, where it improved on GoldenEye was that, yeah, one, it had better AI. It had better AI. You could compete. If not, you compete with humans. You could compete with computers. Now these the computer here, they would have their own personalities. So for example, you'd have slow sim. You might have fist sim. They only hit you with fists. You have rocket sim. They would only use rockets. You have vent sim. They'll come at you if you kill them. You had all these other sims with personalities that also get in the way, especially with your like get in the way with anyone else you're playing with, and you're gonna try and kill them. Especially with these different personalities that you're having to try and contain, it just made it a whole different level. I feel what Perfect Dark also done was a lot of their levels, both single and multiplayer, I feel were a lot more detailed in its environment in terms of what they were trying to portray. It's even evident when they because they pay homage to GoldenEye quite a lot, especially, and they even take some of the levels directly from there for multiplayer. You've got like facility. I forgot. You've got facility. You've got, what's the fucking other levels have you got? I think you've got complex, but it's just kind of revisioned in a more Perfect Dark kind of world. So they do pay homage. They haven't forgotten about its roots. But I do think a lot of the levels are a lot more detailed than GoldenEye's are. GoldenEye's one seemed a bit more bland, not bland, but just less detailed in short. That's what I'm trying to say. And yeah, having the personalities for the computer kind of just it made your experience a bit bigger, it made it a bit better, and it made it more interesting. That's what I would say. Another thing I do believe, hold on, what else I've got here, is I do believe another major thing for me is the actual story of the game. And what I mean by this is how they portray it. So for example, in GoldenEye, they would have like briefings at the beginning of the game. And you don't really get to see much of what's going on because it's just brief. You'd have like a 5-second cutscene or something like that. Similar to what you're just seeing here now. Yeah, that's it. That's what you get to see. Whereas Perfect Dark, on the other hand, And this is what I'm saying. As you're seeing an actual cutscene from the game. You're seeing how the story actually flows. Like, you get a better understanding of what's going on. And this, for me, is a major difference, because that's what you're gonna see. And because of that, I do feel it makes Joanna Dark a far better protagonist than James Bond himself within the gaming universe. The fact you can get to see what she's up to, what she has to do, why, how, all of that stuff. Being Goldeneye, you just get the quick briefings. Some of them are a bit long, as you've just seen. And you don't really get much of a cutscene. I mean, you look at the end, he just jumps onto the plane, and then you just see him kissing Natalia for like 2, 5, 10 minutes for the end credits. For me, that's a major weakness of that game, and this is, for me, a major strength of Perfect Dark. Having to be able to, especially during the time period where they were on. So I don't know whether GoldenEye just didn't really have the memory for it, but Perfect Dark definitely seemed to. I mean, this is evident because when I was doing my research for this video, I'm looking at the fact that during the development of this game, Perfect Dark, they didn't even have enough memory to put everything they wanted in the game. In order to play this game, you have to get the extension RAM pack to play it. And this just shows you how much detail I feel these people have put into Perfect Dark, even more into GoldenEye. And this is definitely something that I think is definitely a big part of it. I want to talk about the music here as well, because like I said for GoldenEye, the music was also legendary. I mean, again, it fits what they're trying to do. It kind of fits each level. And it's just bloody awesome to listen to. If you just go listen to some of the music there, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's very hard to be fair, I can't even knock GoldenEye's music because of Epic. However, I do feel that GoldenEye's music feels more of like an adventure, just an adventure action kind of game. Don't get me wrong. Perfect Dark definitely feels like she's the spy. Obviously, she is, but you forget that James wasn't the spy, even just based on the music. So Perfect Dark Song, I think, conveys that even better. Let's just put it like that. I think it conveys the level better. It makes Joanna Dark seem more of a badass that she really is. Yeah, I mean, there's not much I can say for anything else for that. It's just, the music is just perfect. That's what I would say. It definitely feels something that's ahead of its time. The music for this game definitely feels ahead of its time, and this is definitely something as to why one of the things that make Perfect Dark as good as it is. In order to also further justify why I believe this game was better than GoldenEye as well, I think it's important for me to look at the drawbacks of GoldenEye as well. That's not to say that Perfect Dark don't have any. It's just that I feel the strength of that game far outweigh the strength of GoldenEye. Now, one of the most annoying things with that game that I feel is better in Perfect Dark is the artificial intelligence. Now, guys, when I say Natalia, what comes to mind? In fact, what comes to mind when you see Natalia? Just all she does is come like that, bam, she gets killed. Do you know what I mean? The girls used to, just look at this clip. Yeah, that's all you end up, this is all you end up doing. This is all you end up doing because the woman is such an idiot. You've also got the bloody bots who are idiots. That doesn't help. That kind of takes away from the what do you call it? From the immersion of the game when you've got these stupid, and all it does is just adds to so much frustration when you can't complete a certain mission just because of this woman acting like an idiot. It's just, it does your head in. It absolutely does your head in. I mean, it's... yeah, it's hard for me to... Sorry for the silence. It's just... Thinking about it, it's just so fucking annoying. Another thing about it anyway, and this is not so much its fault, because obviously as time goes on, technology grows, but wow, you look at those graphics though. You look at these graphics, I mean, yes, Perfect Dark was in the same era, but it still looks as though, and it's going to sound weird, even though they were done by the same people, it still looks as though the graphics there were better than Goldeneye, even though you can still see the blockiness of the characters. And because of that, what you end up doing is skipping everything. You just want to get to the game. However, if you know you've got a cutscene, you are going to probably want to watch the cutscene because you get more of an idea. You're not going to want to stop and read all of this page. Let me put it up again. Yeah, do you see that? Who really wants to be reading all of that? But then, whereas Perfect Dark now,
it's coming from that other
there
craft.
you go. You see what I'm saying?
I'd better find the jamming device and check that Elvis is okay.
Yeah, this is
Not
definitely...
forgetting the
this
president,
is-
of course.
That is actually a major issue that I've had with Goldeneye anyway. Oh, I've just remembered one point. One significant point that I didn't talk about in regards to Perfect Dark, and it definitely needs to be mentioned. It's the weaponry. The weaponry for me is significant because of the realism. So basically, the animations in Perfect Dark are better than what you see in Goldeneye. What you see in Goldeneye, for example, the gun reload, it goes down, it goes up. For me, the weapons in Perfect Dark were ahead of its time. They were fucking epic. The weapons themselves had, what do you call it? They had multi-functions, so they had secondary functions. So you have, what do you have? You have the Cyclone. You have the fucking laptop gun. Laptop gun. This, in fact, let me not even talk. Just have a look at some of this yourself. Laptop gun. You also have fast, as you're seeing, whether it's been shown anyway, but you have the far sight, which is basically an alien sniper that can go through walls and one-shot anyone. What I love about these weapons is just not just the functions, but it's just the little animation, like the actual gun, pop, reload. That little stuff for me makes a massive difference on the realism of the game, and that's definitely something that I feel doesn't get enough credit, especially when you're looking at the timing of the game. The weaponry of this game cannot be better, or cannot be better in my opinion. Although what I will say for Goldeneye is, well, I kind of did mention before, was that Perfect Dark doesn't forget its roots. It pays homage, or just flat out includes stuff from Goldeneye, just maybe a little bit rehashed. So if you go into the training section of the game and you complete the missions, you can actually unlock the exact Goldeneye weapons. They're there on the wall on the side. They have all of that, and I think I'm kind of glad they've done some of that, because anyone who might have preferred Goldeneye can still use these weapons, so they can still kind of feel like they're playing Goldeneye without actually playing it. And I feel, let me not even take away from Goldeneye as well, because let's not forget some of the legendary weapons, like I mentioned before. You had the Golden Gun, you got the Moonraker Laser, you got the RCP-90, you got you got the fucking, I don't know, Soviet AR-33 assault rifles, grenade launchers, rocket launchers, name it all, you've got all of that in there. So I can't really sound like I'm discrediting it. However, it's very hard for me to put it on the same length as Perfect Dark, simply because of all the extra functions it has. Simply because I feel it has an extended amount of weaponry, different functions. It has much more animations, which makes it feel a lot more realistic. So from a weapons perspective, Perfect Dark definitely takes it. Now my next point I'd like to discuss is a very irritating one for Goldeneye. I don't know if anyone's had this problem, And it's similar to playing an online game when you know you can't, when you know you cannot pause it. It's, yeah, well, pausing. In Goldeneye, when you pause the game, you just see the watch goes like this. By the time you bring it down, you're dead. You're dead. Or if you haven't died, by the time you come out, you're dead. I mean, just take a look at this. You know, I mean, yeah, stuff like that is frustration. I know it's a 1996 game, but it should not be happening. If someone calls you to go and do something, or you have to stop doing something, you have to make sure you're in an area where there are no enemies, no one knows you're there, for you to pause the game. And it's just adds to the frustration when you've done like a hard level like Aztec. Jungle for me is a difficult one because everyone's fucking got AR-33s. Bunker 2, where they're reloading like fuck, so you can't really, where you can't really, what was I gonna say? You can't really stop because everyone's there. And in any level with Natalia ever, that bitch will cause me to break remotes. So this is for me, it's a major drawback of GoldenEye. Perfect Dark, pause, you're there. Hotkeys to choose any weapon on your screen, you're there. GoldenEye, no. Yes, you can select your weapon just by pressing A, I think it is. But at the same time, if you have to go into your menu screen to get something to do, to interact with something, I mean, what's the point? Like, I just can't listen. Sometimes I just really can't be out of all of that bullshit sometimes. And so yeah, it's just little stuff like that forces me to take points off GoldenEye. And yeah, another point I've got written down here, I'm just having a look at the other points I've written down for it was, and I don't know whether I should really call it, but I just think even though it's an older game, and I don't even want to sound like I'm a noob because of maybe the level that I want to play at or whatever, but for a game like that, sometimes it feels impossible to complete, if that makes sense. Only because when you play on 00, I mean, it's a challenge, but adding to the fact that it is quite difficult, like one gunshot, 2.5 bars is gone already. GoldenEye, there's no health pack. You have to find one body armor along the way, but one shot takes away 2 or 3 bars. Add to that poor AI in any intelligence that you play with Natalia, you're fucked. You are fucked. And some of that, it just adds to the frustration of the game. I feel it should, like Perfect Dark is challenging, but for me, doesn't feel impossible to complete even on the hardest level. Maybe I could even add points to this for GoldenEye, forcing people to up their game. But it is bloody infuriating when you add these two functions together, you know? And for me, it's just hard to explain. It's hard to explain. Well, it's not hard to explain because, like I told you, when I eventually completed it, came back, it got deleted, I was never able to complete the whole damn thing again. It's one of those ones where you do it once and that's it. So, yeah, I mean, guys, this is what I think regarding GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. And why I personally think Perfect Dark has the edge over GoldenEye in general. Yeah, let me know. Listen, let me know what you guys think. Am I wrong? Do you think my unpopular opinion is that, or do you think I'm just lying? Please let me know in the comments. I'm more than happy to debate with you. But I just personally think that Perfect Dark, as everything that I've mentioned, I do think kind of surpasses GoldenEye. I mean, to be fair, it does help that the people who create GoldenEye were the exact same people who did. The same people who did Perfect Dark were the same people who did GoldenEye, you know, even if like half the people had left and obviously they were looking to go in a different direction. But yeah, let me know guys what you think. This is my video as to why Perfect Dark I feel is better than Goldeneye. My unpopular opinion. Please let me know what you think, and be more than happy to discuss. If you think I deserve it, please like and subscribe. I'll definitely be doing some more content, some more unpopular opinions on other video games. Alright, guys, you take it easy, and I'll see you next time.